A new book about the Cold War says the West had 4 secret weapons to bring down the Soviet Union: John, Paul, George, and Ringo. The book is how the Beatles rocked the Kremlin, and the author is a former British spy, Leslie Woodhead. Leslie, good morning.
Good morning.
Well, let's start with this spy thing. What exactly did you do?
Well, the Air Force taught me Russian in the 50s with the object of going to Berlin and listening in on Soviet pilots flying in out of Berlin. So I guess mini spy is about what I was.
Mini spy.
Mini spy.
And you actually worked with the Beatles in Liverpool before they were famous?
Yeah, I made the very first thing I did as a rookie TV producer was to go and make a little film with 4 unknown kids in a cellar in Liverpool who turned out to be the Beatles. Just by, it's just a complete accident, but I thought they were astonishing. Nobody'd really heard of them, and within months they were the Beatles.
But they did, as you point out. I mean, I actually worked in Moscow in the early 90s,
yeah.
and I met a lot of musicians there, not just musicians, but other people who had managed to get a hold of essentially pirated Beatles material, which was considered contraband, wasn't it, back in the 60s?
It really was. I mean, having an album, you could lose your job, you could lose your education. The Kremlin was really down on the Beatles.
What was it? What did the Kremlin have against the Beatles?
That's a really good question, actually. I think they kind of instinctively understood that there was something about the spirit of the music that threatened, central control. That's what it came down to.
So how do you think it actually had a role in bringing down communism?
Well, I think what happened was that the Beatles played an important part in triggering a cultural revolution, and the cultural revolution led on to the washing away of totalitarianism. Somebody put it to me this way: the system was founded on 2 things, on fear and belief. And the Beatles managed to erode the fear and prove that the belief was stupid.
And it seems like if the Kremlin is telling you this music is bad, don't listen to this music, and then you hear this music and realize that the Kremlin's lying about that, what else are they lying about? Was that kind of the philosophy?
That's a really good point, actually, and I think 2 generations of kids thought, this isn't horrible, this isn't dangerous, it's not threatening, it's beautiful. What are they on about? Why are they trying to persuade us of this? Maybe we should start having doubts about the rest of the message.
So how exactly did Beatles music get around when it wasn't allowed?
Well, it was a problem. Initially, weirdly, what happened was that the kids inscribed bootleg from broadcast tapes of the Beatles onto X-ray plates of their uncle's lungs. It was the only vinyl available. I've got a copy at home of some rib cage with "I Feel Fine."
Oh my goodness!
And you can actually play it, and it plays "I Feel Fine."
That's extraordinary.
And then when tape recorders became available, that became a massive way of sharing this stuff around between millions of kids.
And then they passed it from one person to the next.
Exactly so.
Right.
And the other thing that did was power up a whole generation of Soviet rock and roll bands.
Right.
Every one of which apparently was derived from some version of the Beatles.
All right. Leslie Woodhead, it's a fascinating book, and thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.